Hello, welcome again. We are studying special module of NCRT named as Partition Horror Remembrance Day. So here we have studied many articles in this module. The last article is lessons from partitions. So here the explanation is the lessons from the partition. Now after nearly 8 decades have passed, one can consider the partition and its consequences more calmly. There can no longer be any doubt that the partition turned out to be very different from what its advocates had expected. It became a catastrophe that devastated the very cultural and civilizational existence of India. Before 1947, foreign invaders would come to India, cause destruction, rule for a short or long period over one or many regions, and often inflict great oppressions. Yet India's geographic, cultural, and social foundations largely remain intact. With time, Indians would regain control over those territories, but in 1947, for the first time, Indian leaders themselves willingly handed over a vast part of the country permanently outside the national fold, along with tens of crores of its citizens without even their consent. This was a unique event in human history when the nation's own leaders, without a war, peacefully and in the an enclosed meeting, suddenly severed crores of their people from the country. Yet it is evident that neither Indian leader nor the last British viceroy had any real idea of the immediate or long term horror of partition. They never thoroughly discussed all aspects of the great decision. Almost none of the Indian leaders had experience in running national or even provincial administration, the army, police, etc. Hence, they had no idea of the massive problems that would naturally arise between the two large communities living side by side for the centuries. Suspicion, fear, greed, anger, vengeance, and so on. Otherwise, such haste would not have been made. Indeed, even after partition, none of the issues for which it was accepted have been resolved. This also shows that leaders had not seriously reflected on the source issue, the ideology of religious separatism and the claims of social privileges for a particular religion. There are many enduring lessons from India's partition. Remembering its horror is useful only if we stay alert about those lessons. First, firmly refuse communal politics based on religion. Categorically reject the logic of violence and threats, giving concessions to violence in order to gain peace results in whetting the appetite of violence prone groups. Such politics weakens the identity of a nation and encourages demand for social treatments for various groups of people. Second, a wise, patient, and determined leadership is necessary for a country. Leaders must prioritize the nation's welfare above personal or party interest. In modern time, major political decisions are mostly shaped by handful of individuals. The partition of India is a proof. One major lesson of it is that short-sightedness of short-sightedness in rulers can become a national catastrophe. Third, actual politics must be based on realistic assessment of any ideology and the country's social conditions, intercommunal relations, and its economic and military preparedness. Relying on idealistic dreams, appealing slogans, or abstract nations is deeply misleading. Many leaders on both sides during partition are guilty of giving undue importance to certain ideologies or ideals while failing to account for the actual forces that drive human behavior. Self-interest, greed, fear, hatred, anger, vengeance, etc. throughout history. A good statesmanship has been about managing or exploiting these emotions. This is a crucial lesson from the partition. So this is the Red Cliff partition. This is Pakistan, or you can say West Pakistan. This is East Pakistan or Bangladesh. Okay, in 1947, and this is your Burma, which was separated from British India in 1937. Okay. Fourth, history should not be whitewashed or exaggerated. Indian leaders repeatedly failed in this regard even in the decade before partition. In an effort to strengthen the nationalist movement, they based it more on emotional appeals and limited their discourse to a binary of native versus foreign. As a result, history of India was ignored from 1919 onward, starting with the Khilafat non-cooperation movement. National leaders consistently overlooked the historical realities of Hindu-Muslim relations. They blamed the British rulers for every problem, including communalism. It was an exaggerated narrative. Had they remained grounded in history, they might have drawn very different conclusions and curtailed Muslim League's communal politics from the start. Similarly, there is a widespread tendency to either wholly blame or wholly defend the leaders of Congress or Muslim League, but one-sided blame or suppression of uncomfortable truth only hides real difficult problems. It leaves the younger generation unprepared to face them. The consequences of such distorted history teaching could be disastrous. Hence, knowing the unvarnished truth of history is essential. The above mentioned four lessons must be tested solely on rational objective grounds, free from partis- partisanship or ideological basis. That is the only genuine approach to remember the horrors of partition and learning from them. Only then will our younger generation be intellectually equipped to address the social challenges facing the nation. Otherwise, poets' voice will forever condemn us. The body bears the weight of even its own disease, shame again shame, and this shame is neither Hindu nor Muslim.